Hello everyone, my name is Neomustic. Welcome to the first tutorial on how to make a 2D or platformer game. Most of the tutorials that I'll be doing now you can use for an RPG or an RTS or whatever kind of game you want to make. In 2D, I mean. But yeah, first let's load in Unity, if it wants to. Okay. We're going to go to a new project that's up here, new project. I'm going to name it 2D platformer because I will be releasing what I'm making for free. It will be on one of my websites. As you can see at the bottom, I made a website dedicated to all these tutorials and extra information. So tap on 2D. In asset packages, tap on the 2D assets and create your project. The 2D assets, that's the only thing you will need to use. Come on. It loads in a couple of sprites and some scripts. The sprites we won't be using, but the scripts we will. I'll show you in a second. So in standard assets, 2D scripts, come on, scripts. You can see there's a camera follow, so that follows the character. Another camera follow script. A platformer 2D user control, so the jump and everything else is in here. What else do we have? Well, the character thingies, moving, animations and stuff will be in there, and restarter. When you die, you restart the game. So those are the scripts we'll probably be using. First thing that I'm going to do here is right click in this assets bar, create folder, and I'm going to put these two things in a folder. So internal, because they came with the 2D assets that we're using. Okay, so now our own folders, characters, if you want to have multiple characters, map pieces, props, so you can have a table and stuff like that in your game, and a folder. Which one was it? Scripts. So those are the four that we'll be using. Yes, we'll be making our own little scripts as well for dying and stuff like that. And yeah, let's get right into it. Now, the first thing that I want to show you guys, I made a little thingy for myself. I'm going to drag that in. This one I made it 64 by 64. It looks nice. And if you zoom into it, you can see it looks kinda nice. Now the problem with this is I made the pixelation at the pixelation per unit in Unity is at 100. So if I type in 64, it's going to stretch it out and make it a little bit blurry. And that's not what we want. So going to delete this again, delete. We don't need this one, we're going to make our own, delete, and we're going to go to GIMP. So where it says file, load in a new file, put it at 100 by 100. Well, depending on what kind of style you want to have for your game. I'm going to go for 100 by 100 to get it a little bit pixelated. And this is going to be our canvas for our game. Now, there's a little thing. If you make a new one, you put it at 100, 100. If you go to advanced settings, for some things, like when you make a little box or something, it has nothing around it, you should use transparency. Why is this? Well, let me show you. File, new, 100 by 100. Transparency. Okay. Now I'm going to drag out little line, just like that. Export as line. This is just to show you guys what I mean. And yeah, this is taking a while. It's been like this for a while now. I don't know why. Okay, so I've got my line. Where is it? Line here. If I load this into Unity, you can see we get just a line. If it was the complete thing, if it was with a white background, you would see the white background within the middle of the line. But the thing is, with this line now, we can use it for the character to walk up here. It doesn't know the alpha, so it will walk up on this part. Also, if you have something in the background, it still shows up instead of the white box. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to make a floor piece. I'm going to make a dungeon kind of game. Let's delete that. Hard lines. There. I'm going to make a dungeon kind of game, and a dungeon kind of game needs, well, somewhat of a stone ground. I could make these in Blender as well, but I'm not gonna, because I'm going for a kind of pixelated style for this one. And I know that the pencil is the best way to do so. When you use the brush, you get something like this. When you use the pencil, you get this. And that's what I want. Also, with the pencil, you go from pixel to pixel. And with the brush, you just go at random, as you can see. So I'm first going to fill this in a nice brownish tone. That's more red than brown. Something like that. So this is going to be our starting point. Now I'm going to draw in the boxes, the stones, let's say. And for this, I will need to do that in black. For this, I will need to pay attention that I get straight lines first. So I'm going to make a couple straight lines just so I know where my stones will be. This is going to be a ground floor, so I'm going to make these stones smaller than these. And the only thing that I'm going to pay attention to is that these stones add up, well, nicely at these two parts. The rest of them I can just manually do, but these two stones need to be in the right position. The edges, I mean, just to make them tileable. There. And seeing I'm going for a pixelated style, I am going to make them double lined, because this is going to be the size of our map, of our brick. But yeah, you guys will see what I mean. I just woke up. I'm sorry for that. I will do that in a darker tone of this one, like so. So yeah, just at random, place some lines for stones, like this. And on this side, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, like so. So if you look at that from afar, it doesn't look too bad, it doesn't look too nice. And that's exactly what I want to do for this. Just get a little pixelation in here, make it look like it's the old Mario kind of game. To do no, that. Also, I'm sorry for the background. It's very windy here. There's nothing I can do about that. Like this. And yeah, the most of it I'm going to do in a time lapse. So we've got our first stone done. Now we need to fill in the entire thing with stones. Again, I'm just going to do the corner stones, and once I did that, I'm going to go to the next step. You guys will see it when it's here. Okay, so I deleted those because that would take way too long for such a small tutorial as this one. I just made them a little bit more like what you see now, and they're going to be, well, the standard bricks kinda that you always see, like in most games. So I'm just going to fill these in. I just didn't like what I was doing, and I will retry to do that at a later point, at a later moment, but not now. So like this, there. There. So we've got our stones. I don't want these lines to be in the middle. No. I want these to be gone. Same with this one. Okay, so we've got our stone-like looking things. Now we can start adding in some details. I'm first going to take white. The coverage I'm going to put at about 20, I think. 20. Let's see what this says. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to up my radius a little bit because this is what we'll be seeing. And I'm going to start adding in some lighting. Oops. Maybe I should do that on a second layer, so right click in this box, new layer, lighting, and then new layer, shadow, because we'll be making shadows on the bottom side as well. So lighting, I'm just going to pull a line like this. There, and a line like this. There. Doesn't look like much yet, but we'll fix that. We're going to add in some details to our lighting. For example, let's first go to shadows. I should have placed the coverage here on 20, damn it. 20, and this one should be 100. There, and there. Okay, so the shadow, I'm going to add that in as well. That's going to be black. That coverage, we'll see about that later. I'm just going to go and do the under bottom side first of each stone. There. I also want these lines to be in blackness, but I'm also going to add in a little bit over here and a little bit over here. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other stones. Oops, I don't need it to be there. Like so. Like so, and there. It doesn't look like much yet. Now we're going to get into detailing. So I want this stone to have like a thing like this. So I'm going to do that right now. First, let me put this at 20%. Okay, so this stone is going to have something that goes like this. I need to do that on my light. Come on. that. And this one is going to have something that goes like that and hooks up right there. So from afar, this starts to look like the stone that we want it to be. I'm going to add in a new light layer, lighter, kite lighter, good as well. And I'm going to put in a second line right next to it. So this one needs to be underneath here, and it's going to be covered for like 10. As you can see, that gives it a little bit more detail. Gonna do the same over here. There. And over here as well. Now the reason why this isn't looking good yet is because we need to add in some detailing to the stones as well. But before I do that, I'm going to delete all the extra thingies over here because they're not looking nice. Like so. And if you're wondering, no, I'm not professional at this. Definitely not. So I'm just going to delete all the extra thingies. I did a little bit too much there, but that's no problem. You'll barely see it, so like this. And I'm going to add in some light here to make it look like it's rounded off. Like so. I need to do the same down here. Oops, that's too much. There. So that's those stones. I'm going to have to do the same thing to the shadows. Deleting everything well, erasing everything we don't need, like this one. And over here as well. Like that. Same over here. We don't need this line. Don't need these. And okay, that's it. So we've got basic stones. This is not really what I wanted it yet. So in shadows, I'm going to add in a little line. Oops, come on, zoom in. I'm going to add in this little line to give it just a little bit more of a detail look. Like so. And again, erase the parts you don't need. There, so that gives it a little bit more detail. Now I'm going to add one last layer. That's going to be texture detail. This is just some personal thingy. I'm going to take a very, very light brush, like this. I'm going to lower the coverage. I'm going to do that on background. Lower the coverage to like 20. I'm going to up the scale. I'm still in my eraser. I set coverage like 20. That's too much. So 10. That's still too much. Whoops. That's better. Okay, so let's see which one I can use. I think something like this. Yeah. That's good. I'm just going to smear some of these dots in, different sizes. But this is just to get some details in our bricks, as you can see. And those we can line up again as well. So lighting, our brush, and I'm going to line these off as well. Coverage at 100% or we're not going to see anything. Yeah, that's starting to look better. Just going to do some parts, I'm not going to do the complete thing. And I'm going to do all of them differently because it's the same object. So yeah, as you can see, that's starting to look like the stones that I wanted them to be. But maybe I did this on the wrong layer. I want these to be more subtle. So I'm going to go to kite and do it in there. Just so I've got some differences. Yeah, that's better. There's nothing much I can do to that one. 2 more. This is a big one. There. So that's going to be the first one that we're going to be using. It doesn't look too good, it doesn't look too bad, but that's going to use. So export as, I'm going to call this one stone, sand, dirt, floor. Export. In here, the thing you're going to see in a second or two, 3, 4, 5, 7, 2 minutes. In here, you can get your creation date and your comments to be saved inside of your PNG file. This basically means if you write down in your, go here, new, in advanced, if you write down here, created by, and then your name, that's going to be saved to the file. So let's say someone steals your little texture thingy, you can always sue them if you really want to. Okay, so we've got our ground thingy. I'm going to duplicate it to see if it looks good. Okay, so that's going to be our ground. I should have done the same with the black line up here as well, but yeah. So this is going to be our ground, or just deleted these 3 lines because they, I don't really like them. But yeah, okay. We've got our object, our ground floor. There's one more thing that we need to do. I'm going to delete these 2, and I'm going to select this one. And where you see layer in your inspector, tap it, add layer. And I always go for somewhat the middle one. So in this case, that would be 18, 19, something like that. And I'm going to name this one ground layer. So this is basically your walking layer. If you did that, go out of it, go back to your little sprite, and where layer default, you go to ground layer. So basically, I don't know the order, we'll see that when we get to that point, but basically your ground layer is going to be the layer that we're going to make our character walk on. This is walkable. Everything that's higher or lower, I don't know which one of the two it is, but let's say that it's higher. Everything that's higher than this is going to be in front of the character. So if you have a bush or just a prop, something, a trash can, who knows what you want, that's going to be in front of the character. So he's going to walk behind it. And everything that's underneath this is going to be behind the character. So like a door that you want the character to walk through, it's going to be behind the player and you can tap it like that. Also, the further you go down, the further away it's going to be. Basically, this one, layer 31, should be your background. That's never going to move like the big background thing. But yeah, once we get to that point, you guys will see what I mean. I'm going to, off camera, I'm going to upgrade this a little bit to my liking, or I'm going to change the style or whatever. I don't know yet. I actually don't know if I'm actually going to do that, but I want to. Okay, so that's this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned something. And in the next one, we're going to make a little, well, I'm going to make a background, a very easy, simple background. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.